Today, we're going to be going over the 5 things that I hate about this new Lionel Legacy Atlantic steam engine. Now, I really can't say hate in this house because we don't like to say hate because I have so many kids. But these are just the 5 things that I'm really not a big fan of when it comes to these engines. So come along with us right now on Real Toy Trains and let's see what we think. Okay, so let's take the Atlantic over to my favorite spot to video. Okay, so number 1 on my list is going to be, yet again, the classification lights and how extremely bright and non-realistic they are. You can see right here, let's turn the lights down a little bit, some mood lighting if you will, just how bright these are. I mean, we're buying a scale model train here. This isn't a child's toy. And we're getting these extremely bright LEDs, which to me are just not very good looking. Now in the back, they're still very bright, but not as bad. It's probably because they're red and not green. And yes, on this model, you can turn them from green to white. Just for comparison's sake, let's bring up the mighty i4 from New Haven. Now this is an older Weaver model, and as you can see, the classification lights are not as big. They're more realistic and they're smaller. As to the Atlantics, which is definitely a lot bigger and brighter green. So if you look at the older Weaver, the i4 model on your left, you can see that the marker classification lights are just way smaller. They're way more realistic. I just can't understand why Lionel is not getting it right here. Okay, and as of number 2, it's the extreme lack of detail on the pilot. Now, as you can see, I'm pointing out here that there's no safety tread whatsoever. There's a big lack of detail. Here it is again in the front. You can see it's just, there's nothing there. It's just basically cast metal. It's very smooth to the touch, and it doesn't look very realistic at all. Now, for comparison's sake, here is an older MTH Atlantic that I found at B&F Hobbies, my favorite train store. And as you can see, it's just got way more detail. Look at the curtains in the back. Another big one for me is the trucks have chains on them. But just to compare the front pilots, the front pilot of the Lionel model at what we're paying for it, with no safety tread at all, is just not my cup of tea. Okay, so moving the Atlantic up a little bit more, we're going to see my number 3 reason why I'm not a big fan of this engine. And as you're going to see, there is no controls in the tender. Yes, again, this older model from Weaver has controls for the model in the tender underneath the hatch. And the Atlantic just has nothing. Here's a good shot right here, you can see. And I'm sure that Lionel is using older tooling, which is fine, but you know, just because the body is an older tooling doesn't mean you can't move the electronics around a little bit. I understand that it costs some money, but they are asking top dollar for this locomotive. Now, number 4 goes right along with number 3, which is you have to flip the locomotive over for the controls. And my number 5 reason...
Listen. You smell something?
Yes, the smoke unit on this locomotive is extremely loud. Let me know in the comments below if anybody else has experienced a loud smoke unit with these Atlantics. That's going to about wrap it up for this video on the 5 things that I'm not a big fan of on the Lionel Atlantic. Now, this is just my opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm an expert when it comes to O-scale engines, but I am a consumer and I do see some things that could use a little bit of help. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Please look out for my next video on this model, which is 5 things that I absolutely love about it. Now, I did purchase this model. This is mine. I'm glad I have it, but I would like to see Lionel make some adjustments. It's definitely a beautiful model. Once again, guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to share. We'll see you next time on Real Toy Trains.